Mighty Ape is Australia's entertainment and pop culture superstore with everything from movies, music, games, toys, books, hobbies, and more. Mighty Ape is your one-stop shop for the things that matter most. They constantly have hot deals and exclusive promos. And if you visit their website on the click-through banner on fakechef.net's homepage, then your purchase will help support Good Movie Monday. Mighty Ape, Australia's entertainment and pop culture superstore.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning!
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You mean to wish me a good morning? What do you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
Dude, what kind of evil genius comes up with the Jack in the Box? Like, that's some maniacal shit.
I don't know. Do you remember that Amazing Jonathan sketch where he has the Jack in the Box and it's and then when it finally pops up, he's got like the suicide note. He's hung himself. Couldn't stand the song anymore.
Apparently, it started off as a devil in the box made by a German clockmaker, gifted to one of the princes of the German royal family.
It wasn't the same guy who created the puppets from Puppet Master, was it?
No, it was the guy that invented puppetry of the penis.
Oh,
And that's what was in the box.
it was pre the popcorn trick at the cinema. But it got too much shushing when he tried to. You want to see what's in my box? Sorry.
He's like, he has to keep going because he's not hard yet. He's like, show me some porn.
Well, that's what it is. Inside, it's actually like a couple of
Stroking.
little
Stroking.
It's like a massager, and that's he timed it out perfectly so that the full song is what.
Dear Lord, the the guest of our show today is going to be listening to this. What a way to start. I wonder if that's how he got his actors ready. But let me jump straight into the introductions. Some of you may be long-time listeners, and this might be the first time for some others. But hello and welcome. This is Good Movie Monday, the weekly podcast presented by fakeshemp.net, home of the nerdy cinematic ramblings. My name is Glenn Cochran, and I once ate a KFC Ultimate Box with a guy named Jack. And the co-host is Ben Helwig, who once jacked off in a box. Hey, Ben, how are you?
I'm almost there, Glenn. Almost there.
Hey, have you ever had Jack in a Box in America, the fast food joint?
I have. The first time I had it was in Anaheim, and this was pre Super Size Me, and Jack in the Box were the only place that made their burgers fresh when you ordered them, and fucking hell did it taste good. Like, it was the best burger I had on that American trip.
Man, I'm hungry, and that was last week's show, the food show. I'm still hungry. Damn it.
We didn't really talk enough about fast food last week, really.
No, we do talk about it quite often throughout the year.
That is true.
And we consume plenty of. Speaking of consuming food, it is the second week of October. That means we're halfway into Halloween month. And we did get a jump on the Halloween stuff 2 weeks ago when we did our kid-friendly horror movie episode featuring our interview with Ruby Rose. And this week we're going to jump up a few ratings and talk some more grown-up types of horror movies. Although, tell me that these are not movies that totally appeal to teens and tweens. Of course, we are talking about evil killer toy movies to tie it in with Jack in the Box, the new horror movie from Lawrence Fowler.
I mean, to be honest, I think if you're over the age of 15, you're probably too old to really enjoy these films. Like, that's the you have to watch them pre-15 so that when you're like me in your 40s, you look back on them fondly and go, yeah, that movie was awesome. Because if you watch them now clean, you question every decision you've ever made in your life.
Yeah, do you ever have that thing where you talk about these type of movies or some other movies you love with people and they just react like, well, they're stupid, and you get offended? You're like, hang on, what are you talking about?
You look at their face and you're like, Wrong crowd. Tough crowd.
This happens with my up late videos with Chloe all the time. I mention a movie with so much excitement, and then the reaction I get, I'm like, oh, like I feel offended.
Yeah. Well, look, there's something to be said about someone who doesn't appreciate the genius of Joe Dirt or Hubie Halloween.
I promised her we'd go easy this week. Hey, I'm wondering if you were assigned to come up with a killer toy movie, what toy would you turn your attention to? Do you reckon?
Oh, what toy would I turn my
How
attention?
about Mad Balls? Do you remember them?
I never had a Mad Ball. I do remember them, but they were already like horrified.
I know, yes.
Trying to
But,
think
and they were
of,
turned into a cartoon. But imagine them as a movie.
I mean, it'd be pretty freaking good.
Or imagine like you make a contemporary one, you could take sort of the concept of Joe Dante's Small Soldiers and replace them with pop vinyls.
I was thinking like if you like the Banana Splits movie, but Punky Brewster, where Punky Brewster kind of meets. I don't want to because it's the movie I'm going to talk about later. But
Yeah.
Punky Brewster, like as the kid in Demonic Toys, where her and her demonic uncle Henry
Zombie. He could be a zombie.
terrorize an apartment block. That'd be.
What about Punky gets stuck in that refrigerator. They don't find her, and her corpse comes out many years later.
Yeah, that's right. But hang on, but Punky's not a she wasn't a toy.
No,
I mean there was. I think it was a Punky toy, but
kind of like a strawberry shortcake with like a punky attitude.
yeah, yeah, like the Care Bears.
Yeah.
They'll care you to death.
Oh well.
No, what about the Fuzzles? Do you remember the Fuzzles? Where
I
you
do.
spit them inside out into a ball.
I do. Well, needless to say, lots of fun to be had over the next 90 minutes. So stick around because coming up are a bunch of our fun segments from the gang. In just a minute, Jarrett Garn will be guiding you through the next week of new releases. A bit later, Guillermo Troncoso will have the movie news from Screen Realm. Chloe will be facing one of her biggest fears, and Adam is going to be recommending a movie that I may or may not have just referenced. We also do have our interview with Lawrence Fowler, some banger tracks to kick the week off to a right start, and I don't know. It seems like we talk about childhood toys on the show quite a bit.
It's like we're obsessed. It was the Wuzzles too, by the way, not the Fuzzles. The Wuzzles.
Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah, it's. I mean, can you tell that we're middle-aged and obsessed with our youth?
I know. I feel like our generation is the generation that's really obsessed with their youth.
Yeah, like it's not. And I mean, like we're actually our midlife crises are actually affordable. Like instead of going out and buying a Ferrari, we tend to buy like He-Man figures.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
remember these were great. Or like, the 10th edition of the Star Wars Special Edition on Blu-ray or 4K or whatever. That's our
Ninja Turtles. Yep.
Ninja Turtles.
Do you know, when I was much younger, I was obsessed with pound puppies. And when I got a bit older, it was pop balls and jet hoppers.
Is Pound Puppies the one where they scratch behind their ears and they can fly? Is that in the cartoon? Was that
Oh,
in the cartoon?
maybe the actual pound puppy came in like a little cardboard kennel.
Yeah, I always loved those toys, the toys that came in their own little house. Like, I mean, I remember being very jealous of my sister's Cabbage Patch Kid because it came like in a Cabbage Patch and you got like a certificate with its history and stuff. And you're like, He-Man didn't come with any of this stuff.
Don't you wish that the Garbage Pail Kids had have come as actual dolls?
Yeah.
Man, hey,
Yeah,
there's a market for that. I'll remove this from the show and we'll brainstorm something, okay?
We'll buy the license.
That's
We'll get the
right.
license.
Oh, well, there you go. Now you know a little bit more about Ben and I. Let's hand it over to Jarrett and let's hear what he has to say, and then we'll do some recommending.
Hey, this is Jarrett and welcome to PE Class. Now, I'm going to start this week's segment with a little news, and that is that Universal Sony Pictures Home Entertainment will release 2 exciting box sets to 4K Ultra HD on December 8th. I say exciting because personally, I'm super excited about these. The first of which is the Karate Kid Trilogy, right? 1, 2, and 3, all on 4K Ultra HD. Now, the first has been released individually prior, but that don't matter because I will rebuy it in order to get 2 and 3. I can only hope that they've got Atmos tracks for 2 and 3 like the first, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't include the next Karate Kid. It means I can have the trilogy independent of that fourth film. Thank you, and independent of the remake, might I add. Then the second release coming out from Universal Sony is a Universal Monsters 4K collection. However, it is only featuring 4 films, those films being Dracula from 31, Frankenstein from 31, Invisible Man from 33, and The Wolfman from 1941. Now, almost pulled the trigger on getting this from the States, but I'm glad I held out and that Universal Sony will be delivering it locally on 4K Ultra HD. Can't wait to pick that one up. Then moving on to this week's releases. First up from Roadshow, they're releasing a Warner title. It's Space Jam Legacy. It's that long-awaited follow-up to Space Jam that no one seemed to like. I haven't seen it yet. I do want to catch up with it, but I'm not going to blind buy it instantly. I'm going to wait for this thing to go on sale because I've not really heard a kind thing about this film. It's getting released on 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray and DVD. Now, the 4K and Blu-ray do have special features. They've got 4 featurettes and deleted scenes, and the 4K has Dolby Atmos. Then moving on to Umbrella, they're releasing a title this week that was bumped from last week, Possession. It's coming out on Blu-ray as part of their Beyond Genres line. It's got an all-new 4K restoration, and this thing is literally stacked with special features, and of course it comes with a snazzy little slipcover. Then Eagle have 2 DVDs coming out this week, Jack in the Box and Beyond the Law. Now, Beyond the Law you may not have heard of, or you may have heard of, who knows? It's from 2019 and it had been shelved locally, but it's finally being shit out on disc. This one's got Steven Seagal and DMX. That's right, they're reteaming following what, like 2003? I can't remember. Exit Wounds. It was that long ago, I've forgotten. But they're about as relevant as one another now, so they're getting back together. Then from Mad Men, Chopper is finally coming out on Blu-ray. This had been postponed constantly because the theatrical release kept getting postponed because of the lockdowns. That cinema release was getting postponed. But anyway, it's finally coming out. This is its debut on Blu-ray, and I can't wait to pick it up, upgrade the DVD to Blu-ray. Unfortunately, by the looks of it, so far from the press release I was sent from Mad Men, they haven't done any new special features for it. It's just porting over the legacy special features from the previous Palace release, being the 2 commentary tracks, one with the director Andrew Dominic and the other one with Mark Chopper Reed, the 5 deleted scenes, and the Weekend with Chopper Eric Bana meets Mark Chopper Reed featurette. It seems like a missed opportunity given it's its 20th anniversary and they've gone to the effort of doing this all new restoration. But look, I'm just happy that they have ported those legacy special features over and we're getting, a great presentation of an Australian classic. Anyway, that's it for me for this week. Until next time, stay physical.
What Jarrett did not say, mate, and you will be excited, is that the first wave of Hallmark Christmas movies are hitting the shelves this week.
Fucking awesome.
Cooking Up Christmas, 4 Cousins and a Christmas, The New York Christmas Wedding, a whole bunch more, multi-packs galore.
Are they multi-packs? That's even better. I need to check out who are the faded or not yet stars in them.
I am confident we will need to definitely come around and do that Hallmark episode.
That should be our Christmas episode.
Oh, gosh, yes. Well, it's not Christmas, it's Halloween. As I said earlier, killer toy movies. Let's face it, this is a genre that's straight out of our wheelhouse, mate.
It certainly is. Although I've realized that my first film is deceptively titled, but a fraud.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. I guess we probably should have just called this the Full Moon episode because
we made the best killer toy movies.
Because aside from one movie on today's episode, it's all Full Moon.
All Full Moon. Yeah. Carl's band. He knew a good thing when he saw it.
Yes. Take it away, mate. What's your first?
Well, look, my first one is directed by your hero Albert Pune from 1991. It is Doll Man, and it is, although the title does suggest it is a killer toy movie, it is in fact not, because he is just doll sized. He is not actually a doll, but it's a pretty awesome movie, and it does tie into the movies I'm going to talk about later, which I think I've just given a massive spoiler to. But
how many movies are you recommending on today's show?
Well, 3 or 2.5.
Okay,
2.5 to 3.
I thought you were going for like 3 to 3.5 to 4.
No, no, I wasn't going to go that far. There was definitely 3.5 half's worth.
Okay.
But like Doll Man, the third one doesn't really fit into the Killer Toys, although it does. It all ties in together at the end. But yeah, Doll Man. I don't know if anyone like Doll Man has a couple of. I believe Doll Man has a couple of sequels. It's always. I always used to get Doll Man as a kid. Doll Man mixed up with Future Cop, both kind of Full Moon.
Yep.
Full Moon Tim Thomason vehicles.
Future Cop being Trances for people overseas listening.
Yeah, Trances. I mean, Future Cop is so much more of a better name. I don't know. I've never liked Trances. And even when they released it here, Big Sky, I think they called it a Trances box set because he was too cheap to retitle from the US Masters. Like, shit, it's Future Cop, god damn it.
But Doll Man had one sequel, but yeah, go on.
So it stars Tim Thomason as Doll Man, and he is a cop on an alien planet of some sort, and the movie he's doing a very, very good Clint Eastwood impression during the whole film, and he chases an intergalactic criminal who he is tangled with in the past and has basically blown off the rest of this guy's body, so all he is like a floating head. And the floating head jumps into a spaceship and escapes while being pursued by the Doll Man.
Well, his head kind of becomes the spaceship.
Well, yeah, it does get super weird. But they hit some kind of interdimensional barrier and end up on Earth. But when they land on Earth, instead of being full sized, they're 6 inches tall. And the villain, played by Frank Collinson, who's totally great as the head, he hooks up with a violent street gang while Tim Thomason kind of meets Kamala Lopez, who's this like a woman with a kid who lives in a tenement building, who's very anti the street gang and anti drugs and stuff. So of course there's a showdown. Of course, Tim Thomason has this awesome kick-ass gun that blows full-size people away, a la Dirty Harry's Magnum. But the leader of the gang is Jackie Earle Haley, a Good Movie Monday favorite. This guy's career is nothing short of phenomenal. Like, from starting off as the kind of the pitcher. I think he's not the pitcher. He's the batter in Bad News Bears.
Yep.
The wonderkind batter. And he hasn't really changed. His height hasn't got any taller since Bad News Bears. But somehow he manages to play. I think he's played monsters, villains, gang members. He's Rorschach in Watchmen. Like, this guy has had a phenomenal career.
He was Shithouse Freddy, and he cut his dick off in Little Children.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
It's great. But so, yeah, that's what this movie is about. Doll Man. It's pretty cool. He does have her kid, the Kamala Lopez's kid, does think he's a toy, and his spaceship is a toy. So it kind of works out, kind of.
Well, needless to say, I adore Doll Man. I think the production's really good on this one. I think, what Albert did with his, lack of budget and managed to get an effective size discrepancy thing going on there, like forced perspectives and stuff, really clever.
Yeah, it really works. Like, it's clear, like, some of it you can see is green screen kind of trickery as well. Like, but it really works. Like, It does not. I've seen far worse, far more recently, where technology has improved dramatically, and he's like, really not pulling this off.
I don't know what it is about the Full Moon movies that I'm really drawn to. I love their stuff. And people listening, if you want to dive into them, Tubi has practically all of them. And if not Tubi, then their streaming service is loaded too. And
I was going to say, on Amazon they have their own. You can subscribe to the Full Moon channel.
Yeah,
in all of their films.
Amazing. So, and there's something about their posters that appeals to me. Like, it's very generic. They all kind of come from the same, printer.
Yeah.
But I love them.
But he knew what he was doing. Like Charles Band, for all his faults, he is a marketing genius.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about him a bit later, but let's just keep on the sort of the momentum here, because my first one, and I know you're going to talk about these, but he had gone and made the Puppet Masters and the Demonic Toys movies, and then seized the opportunity to capitalize on them, and he's probably made those two movies over 30 times now. And the one I'm going to talk about is one called Blood Dolls, which is fantastic, made in 1999. He directed it and wrote it, and it's more or less, I guess it's cut from the same cloth as Puppet Master and Demonic Toys, but they just changed them to Blood Dolls, and all the puppets that they use are practically the same puppets. They've just given them new clothes or a new paint job. But it's about an eccentric billionaire who is a biological sort of inventor, and he spends his time creating a line of dolls to exact revenge on his behalf of people that have wronged him. And the dolls are created by people he's killed, and he turns them into dolls, and it's really fucking weird. But the funniest thing is that due to years of physical and psychological abuse from his mother, he's, for some reason he's got a really, really tiny head. He's got a head the size of an orange on a normal body.
He's like a pinhead.
He is like a pinhead. And
Pinhead in Pin.
I've seen behind the scenes stuff about this movie, and that's how Charles Band described him. He said he tried to get some of the human characters in this to look like dolls from Puppet Master. So he's got this villain that looks like Pinhead. He's got a manservant with a face painted like the Jack in the Box from Demonic Toys, and it is just a really batshit crazy movie. And I don't know how to describe it other than if you've seen something like Forbidden Zone, the Richard Elfman movie,
Yeah.
and it's just surreal, and cross that with maybe Waxwork or something like that, where it's just really, really strange stuff all taking place practically in one room. Funniest thing, which I know you would love, is that this billionaire, he doesn't have a stereo system in his house. He actually keeps a female rock band in an electrified cage, and every time he needs a song played, he's got a midget that prods them with an electric prod, turns on the cage, and they get electric shocks, and they are forced to play something. So the billionaire will say, track number 10, and they get electrocuted, so they start playing track number 10.
Please tell me that the midget is Phil Fondacaro.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I love that. He's perfect. He's perfect in these kind of movies.
As if it's not weird enough, here's something really weird, is that the ending of it, there's two endings. They shot two endings, and they have the guy that plays a Jack-in-a-Box kind of manservant pops up on the screen and addresses the viewer and just says, we have two endings for you. We couldn't decide which one to use. Here they are. And so they present it kind of like Wayne's World did at the end of Wayne's World.
Right.
And then I was blown away to find out that Penelope Spheris, who directed Wayne's World, shot the behind-the-scenes documentary for Blood Dolls.
Wow.
And it's on the streaming service from Full Moon, and it's called Holly Weird. But the thing is, I don't know how Charles Band agreed to it, because it's an expose on how he exploits female actresses and things like that. And yet he takes it in his stride. He's in there, telling them how he works, and she's asking all the actresses, were you paid for this? And no. Don't you think you should be paid for this? Yeah. I mean, were you paid more to get your boobs out? No.
Did he hide it from them? Did he tell them
No.
In the script, you get your boobs out.
No, totally. But she was trying to get to the bottom of his business model and how he promises money but never pays it and all that kind of stuff. So at this point in the film, they hadn't been paid. I'm pretty sure it was on a what do you call that? A deference.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
But it's only a 10-minute documentary, but it's fascinating, man. It's
I wouldn't have thought that. I suppose they would be low enough budget for a deferrals, but there's no way if you did a proper accounting of Full Moon, those movies hadn't recouped.
Oh, I know, but you listen to anyone that's worked on a Full Moon production that no longer works on a Full Moon production, and they'll tell you they haven't been paid.
They still haven't been paid. Yeah, of course. Accounting tricks is really the business of movie making is really the business of dodgy accounting, and that's from the big studios on down.
Well, anyway, somebody that we don't pay but certainly does tricks. Here's Guillermo.
What's happening, everybody? It's Guillermo here from ScreenRealm.com, Australia's favourite entertainment website covering all things movies and television. As always, I'm here to tell you a little bit about what we've covered in the website in the past week, movie news-wise, kicking off with Keira Knightley signing up to star in a true story drama titled Boston Strangler. The film is to be both written and directed by Matt Ruskin, who previously directed 2017 Lakeith Stanfield starring drama Crown Heights and the indie film Booster. Filmmaker Ridley Scott and Kevin Walsh are on board to produce the film, which will find Knightley playing real-life investigative reporter Loretta McLaughlin. Working for Record American during the 1960s, McLaughlin was the first reporter to connect the murders and then break the story of the serial killer, who she and fellow reporter Gene Cole dubbed the Boston Strangler in a 4-part story they wrote. While challenging the sexism of the period, McLaughlin and Cole worked hard and put themselves at great risk to report on the serial killer and uncover the corruption that would cast doubt on his identity. Cameras on Boston Strangler will begin rolling in Boston this December. And a Peaky Blinders movie is officially on the way. Peaky Blinders creator and executive producer Stephen Knight confirmed the news, telling Variety that the film will be set in and shot in Birmingham, and that, and I quote, "it will probably be the sort of the end of the road for Peaky Blinders as we know it." Knight also said that there could be shows related to the Peaky Blinders universe in the works as well, although nothing's been confirmed on that end. Jake Gyllenhaal has signed up to star in a superhero film titled Prophet. The film is going to be directed by Extraction Helmer Sam Hargrave, and it's based on an Image comic book from Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld. Gyllenhaal will be playing John Prophet, a man who gained superhuman strength after being conscripted by the Germans and subjected to scientific experiments during the Second World War. Writing the comic book adaptation is Mark Guggenheim, known for DC shows Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow. And It star Bill Skarsgård, Aussie actress Samara Weaving, and The Raid's Yayan Ruhian are set to star in an action movie set in a dystopian fever dream reality, as it's described, Boy Kills World. Bit of an enticing plot this one. Skarsgård will be playing the protagonist, Boy, a deaf mute with a vibrant imagination. He escapes the jungle after his family is murdered, and then he's trained by a mysterious shaman to become an instrument of death. Ruhian will be playing his mentor, and Weaving will be appearing as an assassin. This will be the directorial debut for German filmmaker Moritz Moore, and on board to produce is Sam Raimi. That about does it for me, guys. Thanks so much for having me once again. ScreenRealm.com, everybody. Go visit us. Catch you next week.
To
If you're wondering where you heard that song for before, it was from the soundtrack to Child's Play, the reboot, and it's called Fire by Part-Time Friends. I kind of like that tune a lot, so good opportunity to play it. And before that, thank you to Guillermo from Screen Round for his update. Head over to screenround.com and be a friend of theirs on their social media pages. And so the centerpiece for this episode is, of course, the Jack in the Box, new horror film from director Lawrence Fowler, and it is the first part in his new trilogy. Part 2 has been completed but not yet released, and he's going to discuss that in a moment. So before he made Jack in the Box, he also made a feature film, another Killer Dolls feature film called Curse of the Witch's Doll, which some of you may know the poster of. And so with Jack in the Box dropping onto DVD this week through Eagle Entertainment, I did have a chance to talk to him about the film. And it's a family affair. It's a very interesting chat. But the less I say, the better. I'll let him do all the work, and we'll see you in a minute. Lawrence, how are you, mate?
I'm good. Good. How are you?
Yeah, doing really well, mate. Hey, this is Jack in the Box, nightmarish stuff, mate. Can you, just for the benefit of our listeners, can you give a rundown on what the movie's about?
Well, it takes place in a museum. The staff there, quite curious people. They discover this kind of old, mysterious box in the old storeroom. And as anyone would, they're quite curious. They turn the handle of this Jack in the Box and unleash a curse. And the idea of the curse is that the demon within the box is released when it's opened, and it must claim 6 victims. So, quite soon, the staff of the museum become the victims, and hopefully nightmares ensue.
And you know what? Jack in the Boxes are pretty freaky things, and they do actually have like a sinister origin and a history, which you kind of explore in the movie. How was the seed of this film planted in your head?
Well, we'd made a film called Curse the Witch's Doll, and the distributors we were working with at the time were quite keen for us to kind of make something that was similar, with kind of doll themes, and we were really keen not to do that, or at least if we did do that, bring something completely different to the table. So we started looking into different kind of different forms of doll, and this idea of a Jack in the Box just kind of came up as sort of keeping them happy, but also a case of being something completely new. And although over time we moved away from them, the concept changed completely. Looking into the backstory of like you mentioned, the kind of idea of what is the true origin of the Jack in the Box. There's theories of it starting in England, where it comes from a story of a demon trapped in an old boot. There's all these different kind of interesting little legends that we kind of melded, it sort of put all together. And you throw in a little bit of kind of creepy clown subgenre into it as well, and before you know it, you've got kind of a unique twist on a genre, which we were really excited about.
I love how you said that the idea just sort of jumped up. That's quite literal, isn't it?
Yeah. But it went through many kind of forms. At times we were, considering whether it was kind of like a Chucky type thing where the doll itself came to life. I was never a fan of that. I really wanted this, larger than life monster to come out of this box and create some terror. And I think I'm really pleased with how it all turned out.
For sure. And I mean, the Jack in the Boxes lend themselves to jump scares, so it feels like a natural kind of thing to happen in a horror movie. And the fact that you brought a demon out of the box is just fantastic. And like you said before, your first movie was Curse of the Witch's Doll, and did you have a natural attraction to demonic doll movies before?
Yeah, I've always been a fan of that particular subgenre. One of my favorite films of the last 10 years is The Boy, and I know not a lot of people like it, and some do, some don't, but I love the twist. I love the idea, and obviously the Annabelle series, and there's lots of others, but it was just something that when you're an independent filmmaker and you're trying to break into the industry, it's important that you present a concept that has a chance in the marketplace. And truth be told, doll movies have a place. So it was kind of a mixture of, okay, that could get us in our foot in the door, but it's also something I'm passionate about. So when you blend the two together, it's a recipe for success. Even though I'm not particularly proud of that film. And I wouldn't ask anyone to go out and find it, but it was a micro budget family, just first film where I learned the hard way a lot of lessons that we carry on today. But hey, you all got to start somewhere.
Mate, like those first movies are the most important ones. They lay the foundation.
True.
But like you mentioned some influences. I want to elaborate on that just for a moment, because I personally saw little hints in there of Hellraiser, a little bit of Phantasm, and even like Relic. There's a bit of that in there. What sort of movies, other than the ones you just described, influenced you when writing it? Or did you just try to distance yourself from any kind of influences?
It's really difficult. Yeah, I think it's important that obviously as a horror movie fan, you consume a lot of horror type scenes and stories, and they all subconsciously kind of form your ideas of stories for yourself and stuff. But no, there were no particular, like, there's no certain film I can say, oh, we're influenced mainly by this. We really tried to stay away from films like It, where it's obviously another huge creepy clown movie. We just wanted to make sure that if we went into this sort of territory, that there weren't direct references to anything specific. But I can't honestly answer there was one specific inspiration, to be honest. There were so many. Yeah. It's just a lifetime of loving horror and all coming together.
Well, the one thing I do love about a good horror film, and I think the good ones always wear their influences on their sleeve, and I think fans of the genre will be able to watch your film and spot some that you might not have thought of, like that just sort of seeped in there naturally. So yeah, that's the fun thing about these films. But in terms of the story, like your character of Casey, like Jesus, man, his backstory is really heavy. Like where did that come from?
Poor guy. Based on my life. No, I'm joking. No, it's difficult. It's come from a number of different places. I've always struggled with insomnia, so it's something I can relate to. It's something that I can draw upon. It's not particularly nice, but I've never quite had it, obviously, cause quite the issues that Casey has. But I think when you make a horror film like this, and it's obviously Jack is the poster boy. He's the driving force of why people many can watch this film. I just think sometimes it's quite nice to kind of mix that with a story that people can relate to as well, a character going through something tough, and it's also a character that is trying to convince people that there's a box with a demon going around killing people is quite ludicrous. So if you give him a character trait that suggests that he may be going crazy, there may be reasons why, at least in other people's eyes in the film, reasons not to believe him. I think that does help, and it's obviously giving him this kind of idea of insomnia and hallucinations and all these things just make his claims that little bit less believable for his other staff members.
Totally, perfectly said. And the film, in addition to yourself, your surname is all over this movie. Can you talk a bit about Fowler Media? It looks like a family enterprise.
It really is, yeah. As I mentioned with Witch's Doll, essentially this business is my 4 core family members. It's myself, my wife, who does the casting. I write, direct. My father is a producer, and he's also incredibly talented at building things. So he built the box. My mum started doing catering on Witch's Doll. It wasn't the plan to keep going, but I mean, she's got a background in catering, so she's fantastic. So we just keep working with them. And before you knew it, we were trying to, we were originally called Up a Notch Productions. We wanted to rebrand it a little bit, and Fowler Media just came out to us because it's a core family business, and that's something that's fairly rare in sort of independent film. I think is I think a lot of people bring family members in, but to honestly have your core business being family based, it's quite nice. It's really nice, and I think a lot of people that work with us appreciate that. And we're getting a nice reputation for very friendly sets and very friendly working environments, which is great. But yeah, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but it works for us.
I think it's fantastic. Like when I was, looking into the film and your story, and like it just, I was really fascinated by it. And it's like you said, very unique indeed. And amongst your upcoming projects is a sequel to Jack in the Box, which I have, if I have it right, will be the second part of a trilogy. Is that right?
Potentially, yeah. We're thinking of ideas right now. So Jack 2 hasn't been released yet, but it's, as with all these things, it's all dependent on how well it's received and sold. We've got fingers crossed that it does well, and we've got ideas for a third. So yeah, we'd love to make a trilogy. We think there's definitely room to develop this story. With every film, the budgets are going up as well, so the quality is increasing. And yeah, it's exciting times. So fingers crossed for Jack 3.
Well, I don't want you to give any spoilers away, so I'm not going to ask that of you. But like, will it be almost anthology style where the box is in a different possession, or will it be a continuation directly from the first?
Well, we've got ideas for both of those. I feel it'd probably be a fresh story where, you know, with the boxes with a different set of people, similar to the sequel itself. But yeah, we're at that exciting stage where there's no decisions made. It's just throwing ideas against the wall and see what sticks. So to be honest, it could go anyway. We'll just have to see. But no, we'll have to see.
Well, I am looking totally forward to that. And look, we've run the clock out, but congratulations on bringing Jack in the Box to life. I can't wait for people to see it. I enjoyed it a lot. Love these kind of independent films. So thanks so much, mate.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Jack in the Box, as I said, out on DVD. Well worth a look. And for the past few months, all of our competitions for the show have been moved over to our website, goodmoviemonday.com. And most of the ones that are currently listed are about to expire, if not already. So check back there over the next couple of weeks and you'll see a whole bunch of new competitions. Of course, some of the prizes we have up for grabs are new release movies, tickets to Luna Drive-In, tickets to Palace Cinemas, bottles of exclusive gin from Four Pillars Distillery in Hillsville. And for this week's show only, we are giving away copies of the Jack in the Box, thanks to Eagle Entertainment. To win a copy, send us an email and tell us specifically what toy you would love to see come to life in a horror movie. Send your answers to giveaways@fakeshemp.net. Have some fun with it, and perhaps we'll read one or two of them out on the show. But now it's time to throw over to the Boneheads from Kentucky and see what they're talking about.
Welcome to Bonehead Weekly Fun Size.
Now, funsies. So
no, he voted against it because it was popular, and
we agreed on this episode. James is only going to say one movie, not 4 or 5.
I'm not going to do a movie this
So who's
time.
going first? Now, what are we doing, Chad? Explain this to the folks.
So since Glenn is talking about Jack in the Box, I figured we could do a fun size episode about horror movies that involve toys.
Yeah. Well, I'll go first because it's a movie that got shit on and it's not really a great film. It came and went and nobody really watched it. And this guy is a close personal friend of Glenn's. They went to school together, but I want to talk about James Wan's Dead Silence. It's a flawed movie, but it has some genuinely creepy scenes in it. You remember when we saw this, gentleman?
Yeah.
And with the dolls, I mean, it's flawed. It's like it got too cut. Like there's stuff that's just missing out of it that would have made it flow better. I don't know if it just wasn't shot or if the studio made him cut more and more, but it genuinely has creepy imagery. It genuinely has creepy dolls, and it's flawed, but I enjoy it.
I'm going to go next because I am always excited when I get to mention a full moon film. It is a staple of my childhood. So I have to talk about 1992's Demonic Toys, featuring Tracy Scoggins. This was actually written by Charlie Band and one David S. Goyer.
I think this is his first screenplay. I think he got $10,000 for that movie.
I think you're right.
First sole screenplay.
It involves a pregnant policewoman, her quarry, and an innocent delivery boy become trapped in a haunted toy warehouse. And it's a demonic bear, a Jack in the Box fitting, a doll, and a killer robot toy that just are terrorizing these people, trying to kill them in the most hysterical ways possible. Highly recommend Demonic Toys. And if you want to follow up Demonic Toys, highly check out Doll Man versus Demonic Toys.
Oh, yeah. You got to do Doll Man.
Yeah, you got to do Doll Man with Tim Thomerson.
Who was a stand-up comedian, and no one remembers that.
Nope. James, what
so
were you
real quick, I didn't want to talk about a film. I thought we need to talk about so maybe you like toys and you're thinking they've all been used in horror films.
I don't like toys.
I've got one for you.
Never played.
Nobody has made this film yet. Picture it, dark scene. Somebody's in bed. They start to feel. You see the bed move slightly. All of a sudden they move, and there's a horse's head in the bed, but there's a stick attached to it.
This is called The Godfather.
Bonehead presents Hobby Horse. Cut it, Joe, right there.
I can tell you right now, James would most definitely have won our giveaway. Hobby Horse, I'll buy that. And there goes Chad trying to steal your thunder, mate, with demonic toys. But
I haven't talked about that yet.
hence stealing your thunder.
But he's totally done it. Done it again.
He's not as good as this as you are, mate.
Well, he only has 2 minutes. I get a full 15 to stumble through my synopsises.
Well, shout out to our amigos from across the pond. Subscribe to Bonehead Weekly wherever you get your podcast from. And speaking of a greater franchise, would you care to continue?
Well, yeah, I mean, the cat's out of the bag now, but I am going to be talking about Demonic Toys from 1992, directed by Peter Manguian, who also directed the classics Arena. Have you seen Arena? That's
No.
the original one. Not that there's a shitty, like relatively recent remake, which is horrifying with I think like Channing Tatum. But the original is awesome. Eliminators, which they shamelessly ripped off in Manborg, and
another Charles Band.
These are all Charles Band. Seed People,
Yep.
which I think I've talked about on the show, which is a Invasion of the Body Snatchers ripoff, which is great. All the aliens roll down, like they turn into giant boulders and roll down hills, catch people, and Devil Dolls. But Demonic Toys, it stars Tracy Scoggins as a cop who, at the start of the movie, her and her partner / boyfriend are on like this kind of illegal arms bust, and they meet up with these two psychopaths outside of not an abandoned, a seldom used toy factory, and of course, when they reveal the fact that they're cops, a shootout ensues, and her partner is killed. But but I haven't mentioned this, but just before the bust, she tells her partner / boyfriend that she's up the duff, and that's an important little factor that will come into play later. But there's a shootout. The boyfriend gets killed, and so do one of the two thugs kind of escape into the toy factory, and one of them has already been shot and actually ends up being killed. Like his blood awakens a demonic presence that has been buried under the toy factory and possesses the toys, and they kill him. And I think there's a Jack in the Box with like an evil clown face. There's a robot that shoots lasers. There's a potty mouth baby doll toy. I'm trying to think if there are any others. So it's clearly this is very, very clearly a Puppet Master ripoff. It's good to see that Charles Band's actually ripping off his own intellectual property in this one.
Well, that's what I was getting at before with Blood Dolls, is that once he realized these movies make him money, he just replicated them over and over and over.
Yeah, he certainly did. And of course, then as it turns out, the demonic presence wants to reincarnate himself in the body of Tracy Scoggins' unborn baby. But of course, he also wants to bang her, which is a very weird kind of opedal or kind of subplot there. But yeah, it is pretty cool. And there's a lot of swearing. There is some incredibly gratuitous nudity, not from Tracy Scoggins, unfortunately, but the demon can read minds and can conjure anything that you think of. And of course, there's as there are in all of these films, I think from Dollman on down, I think there's always a fat, disgusting, coarse security guard in the movie somewhere.
Yep.
And of course, the fat, gross security guard in Demonic Toys, it's great. He's like obsessed with Playboy magazine, and he orders fried chicken from the place down the road. And when the delivery guy gets there, he's like, "Hey, have you seen this issue yet? Check out Miss July." And of course, the devil conjures Miss July, who entices the fat security guard. And that's the big problem I have with all these films, is that why do people believe these things are real? Like, why does this security guard believe suddenly Miss July has appeared in his warehouse and is beckoning him, this fat, gross old guy over for sex? Like, it doesn't make sense what they're thinking, kind of thing. And then later on, when the demon is kind of torturing Tracy Scoggins, he takes the form of her dead boyfriend. Now, she knows he's dead, and she's constantly she cries out, "Oh, Charlie," or whatever his name is, and this guy, like,
Hang on. Back it up. You say all this, but the movie is Demonic Toys.
Yeah, no, yeah. I understand what I'm saying. The ridiculousness of my argument here.
Well, can I add though that just like Dollman, I think this particular installment has a very good production design, and it knows exactly what it is. Like the other ones after it, the quality is less and all that, but this one I think is actually on the money.
Yeah, look, the toys are great. Like the toys are actually, I think the toys in Demonic Toys are better quality toys than the toys in Puppet Master. Like they have a lot more personality, and that is the big difference between this and Puppet Master. In Puppet Master, the toys are just just animated toys. Like they are always just dolls
under the command of like somebody.
Of the doctor whose name I can never remember.
Torlin.
Yeah. Whereas in Demonic Toys, all the toys have like separate personalities, and they're seemingly, as the series progresses, their own agendas that don't necessarily gel with the the agenda of the demon that they serve.
Baby Oopsie is their mastermind, and that is hilarious.
Yeah. Well, Baby Oopsie, in the movie I'm going to talk about briefly next, Dollman vs. Demonic Toys, Baby Oopsie is the mastermind. She's replaced, but in the first one, this is the great thing about the climax of Demonic Toys, because the demon takes the shape of a child, because it's throughout the whole movie, it's this kid torturing these people with the aid of his toy minions. I guess that it's supposed to explain why he's using toys, because he's a kid. But then the spirit of Tracy Scoggins' unborn child possesses a toy soldier, but not like a modern day G.I. Joe type toy soldier, like a Mary Poppins era, British wooden toy soldier, and they have a fight. It's one of the more ridiculous things in a already ridiculous movie.
Well, possibly the best piece of trivia about both Dollman and Demonic Toys is they were written by David S. Goyer, who went on to do Batman Begins and Dark Knight and countless other movies, like big movies.
Yeah.
I do love the fact that he also wrote Kickboxer 2. That's where he got his start.
Manguian. Yeah.
What?
So
Did you have a stroke?
Yeah, I had a stroke. I missed the part that I missed the opening sentence of what you just said.
I said both Dollman and that's right. You weren't paying attention. Dollman and Demonic Toys were both written by David S. Goyer.
I'm not sure about. Well, he definitely did Demonic Toys. I don't know about Dollman.
I'm pretty sure. All right, pause the show. Let's have a look. No, you're right. It was Arcade, the other Charles Band production that Albert Pune had directed.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Full Moon productions.
That was always the surprising thing about David S. Goyer's career, was that suddenly he was the man doing Marvel movies when he got his start writing not absolute shit, but in comparison, absolute shit.
Totally.
He's because he wasn't he kind of in charge with the of the Marvel Universe at one point before anyone gave a shit about the Marvel Universe?
Yeah, no, he's DC, I think, like with the Batman stuff.
Oh, was he? I know, because he did Blade and all that sort of stuff. That's Marvel.
He's dabbled in both, mate.
Yeah, because before Kevin Feige, before all of that, before it got bought by Disney and they turned it into something, when people still looked at comics as things for retards, that's when David S. Goyer was doing them.
Oh, dearie. Well, I kind of wish that I'd stuck with the Full Moon theme for my next recommendation, but I did try to find something a bit more contemporary, and I found a brand new movie because every Halloween I like to look for something new that I haven't seen, and this one will be coming to streaming in Australia very soon, but I want everybody to make a note of it. It is called Benny Loves You, and my God, this is best described as like Chucky, as if he was playing Tickle Me Elmo. Because this Benny character is very much Tickle Me Elmo, the way it talks, the way it looks, and I'll go through the synopsis. It's about this tough little toy that becomes insanely jealous when and psychotic when his owner of 35 years throws him away, and so Benny turns into a psycho killer and then starts killing everybody that gets in the way of his relationship with his owner, whose name is Jack. And Jack has never lived out of home before. Like, he's always been with his parents, and both of his parents die simultaneously, like in freak accidents. So one accident then trips the other accident, and they both die. And so this guy's left to fend for himself, and Benny's the only thing he has that he knows for comfort. But then, of course, a girl comes onto the scene, and Benny just goes absolutely berserk, and the bodies just start piling up, and it is really gratuitously violent and really gruesome, but it's fucking hilarious too, and the effects are amazing, and the vocabulary on Benny, when I was talking about the Tickle Me Elmo, it's only got like 3 lines, I think, but they're repeated over and over, so it's like, Benny loves you, and it's Benny. Play with Benny. And they use each of those in the best ways possible. Like, they find the moments, and it's just fantastic. And when the killing starts, I guess you could sort of compare it to maybe Shaun of the Dead, throw in a bit of Gremlins. Actually, there's a lot of Peter Jackson's Brain Dead in there as well. The feel of the film is very much like that. So, yeah, everyone get behind it. Benny Loves You. It's awesome. It's got a fantastic poster. And it is coming to streaming. I just don't know what date, but get on it. Get on it.
It sounds very similar to the plot of Monkey Shines, except a toy instead of a monkey.
It pretty much is. Yeah. And because it comes at a time, like you mentioned before, the Banana Splits movie. Was it Willy's Wonderland? And I think we've got that game was Freddy's Fright Nights or whatever it's called. I can't remember the name.
Squid Game.
Oh God. Moving on. How overrated is that?
I tried to watch the first episode today, but I kind of had it on the background, and I was like, oh, subtitled. I actually really need to pay attention to this. So I don't. I got up to the part where he's just he's playing that weird game in the subway with the guy, and he gets a slap every time he loses. Like, it's actually pretty funny.
Mm.
But yeah, if it goes on from there, I don't know.
Anyway, so there are recommendations, and given that Chloe is not exactly a horror fan, although she is starting to appreciate them, I'm picking up on that. This will be interesting to see how she approaches today's theme.
Hello, and happy Monday, friends. I'm Chloe from Movie Night with the Richie Girls, and this week my segment can be summed up in all of one word: chlorophobia, or, the excessive fear of clowns. Now, in my opinion, there's no such thing as an excessive fear of clowns because those things are creepy as fuck. They are made from nightmares, and I absolutely refuse to believe that people have ever found them funny, because when you think about it, no clown toy or clown personality or human acting as a clown has ever been known to be a stable, well-adjusted person. Think about it, really. Jigsaw, the tricycle-riding toddler from hell who was rude enough to make Cary Elwes cut off his own foot. Not forgivable. It, and as much as I love Stephen King, that's a big fat nope from me. And what about Ronald McDonald? Nobody sane would associate with a giant purple lump. A burglar who specifies in stealing hamburgers and a weird yellow bird. No, those painted white faces, massive red lips, and crazy black eyebrows are something to be feared. And come to think of it, my fear of the Kardashians are now starting to make a whole lot of sense. In fact, the creepy individual that is responsible for the white-faced, red-lipped nightmare image is an actual human called Deburau, a creepy-ass man who lived in Paris in the late 1800s who literally killed a boy in the street by beating him with his walking stick because he insulted his performance. I mean, come to think of it, I only know one person personally who has ever had toy clowns in their room as a child, as actual toys, and they still own them today. They, own clowns as a fully functioning, contributes to society kind of adult. And as much as I value their friendship, I really had to seriously reconsider the day I found that out. The late night Snapchats when they go home for the weekend of close-ups of their creepy-ass faces is not something I appreciate either. Any normal human being knows that those clowns secretly come to life in the middle of the night and carry out the work of the devil, so, it's only a matter of time. And look, I get it. Killer dolls, yeah, they're scary. Puppets that come to life to torture? Very scary. Any so-called child's toy that comes to life and terrorizes and murders people is bound to scare the shit out of some folk. But nothing compares to a horrible painted face of a clown. Even the word makes my butthole clench. Ooh, they absolutely win the competition for scariest killer toy, for sure. And that's my aggressively opinionated thoughts this week, and I'm sticking to it. Have a happy Monday, friends.
Yeah, so like I said, it's bloody hard for someone like Chloe to contribute to a theme like this because she's not into horror. So well done to her for just facing her fears. Clowns are very scary. Let's round off this whole Demonic Toys saga, mate. Enlighten us with your final recommendation.
Well, I did at the start of the show. I did say I was going to be talking about 2.5 movies because the third one, and it should be pretty obvious, is Dollman vs. Demonic Toys, which does cap off the 2 films that I talked about previously. The reason I say it's half a movie is because the runtime is a cool 64 minutes. Now, if that's not the perfect running time for a film, I don't know what is. The main stars from the first two films do return, Tim Thomerson and Tracy Scoggins, but along for the ride is also Melissa Baer, who is Nurse Ginger from Bad Channels. And in Bad Channels, another full moon movie, this alien scientist guy like shrinks these women and puts them into these test tubes. And at the end of the movie, 2 of them are returned back to normal size. 1 is not. There is a bit of a goof because in the actual movie, Ginger is actually restored to full size, and it's Bunny who is left miniature. But let's not. I'm assuming there was some kind of issue with the actress not wanting to come back, so Melissa Baer got the part. So of course, the whole movie starts with Tim Thomerson traveling across country because I think in Dollman, I'm pretty sure he's in New York. I think he's in the Bronx or something, and Melissa Baer is in this small Midwest town with now I can't remember the name. It's a really weird name, Bahuda or something like that is the name of the town. And so it's the beginning of the movie is Dollman hitchhiking across the United States, trying to meet up.
Tiny Dollman,
tiny 6-inch Tim Thomerson trying to hook up because he wants to because he's heard about Tiny Nurse Ginger and he's looking for some fun. He's looking for some action. So he hitchhikes across America to meet her. And of course, she is incredibly excited to meet up with someone her own size. And of course, and they do a get it on. But then Tracy Scoggins also hears about both of them and enlists their aid in once again returning to the toy factory and taking on the demonic toys, who this time there is no demonic master in this one, or somehow he's equipped baby Oopsie with reproductive powers, who is going to take his place and have sex with Tracy Scoggins and inseminate the baby with the soul of the demon or something like that. It's pretty, but of course, he doesn't count on Dollman and his kick-ass gun. And there's quite a few scenes of because Dollman is the same size as the toys. They've got guys dressed up in the doll costumes. There is actually a small soldiers-esque army man in this one who he fights, and he does, he blows a couple of the toys away. The clown Jack in the Box returns. The and Baby Oopsie, of course, and the robot. They're all in it. All your favorites are back. It is a lot of fun. And as I said, and of course, and I was going to say, the fat security guard in this one is actually Phil Fondacaro. And he's great, but he ends up becoming a minion of the demon. It's actually pretty cool. But yeah, it's an interesting movie. But it does, like I said, it does only go for 64 minutes. So definitely worthwhile just tacking that on to the end of your Dollman Demonic Toys. But you probably should, just to round it out, watch Bad Channels just to get the full backstory.
Well, I was gonna say that. Firstly, people can't see this, so they can't see that I have had a grin on my face, from ear to ear the whole time. This episode makes me so happy. I would love to come back and do a full moon episode. We should get Charles Band on the show. We should try to anyway. But yeah, of course, after Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys, there was that. And then there was Demonic Toys 2, and there's a new Oopsie Baby movie, which has just come out.
And there's Demonic Toys.
You had Bad Channels, you had Hideous, you had Evil Bong. These are all kind of loosely connected.
But I think there's Demonic Toys Personal Demons. I think that's a relatively recent addition, but that has no one returns. That I don't think it has any connection to the other two, other than the name and the concept.
I was very, very happy though when Puppet Master did cross over with Demonic Toys. That was good to see the two doll lines going head to head.
Like I remember when it came out, and I was like, "Oh shit, who is the genius behind all this?" Like at the time, I had no idea about things like that they were full moon movies. They were all made by the same studio. I was just like, oh, "It must be the same." The same person must have made all these. Like I thought, it's ingenious.
And of course, Monster Fest played the latest Puppet Master film, which was written by Craig S. Zala, which has one of the most outrageous moments in movie history.
It certainly does. It's got a couple of them. That's a fantastic film, Puppet Master of the Littlest Reich, and an all-star cast.
And I believe that one was made outside of Full Moon, just with Full Moon's consent.
Yeah, I think he was a producer on it. Charles Band was a producer on the film. We tried to get him for the extras, but we were told, yeah, maybe not.
Well, I encourage everybody to at least get onto Tubi or Amazon Prime to explore the Full Moon catalog because it's just so wonderful. And yeah, their streaming platform is fullmoonpictures.com. I signed up to that and I was not disappointed. They have a lot of exclusive bonus content. That's the benefit of the streaming platform. But no matter how shady a reputation Charles Band had, I love him, and like I've said before, his movies mean a lot to me. Like as far as like informing my love of horror, and he's had so many companies over the years, like from Empire International Pictures, and Pulp Fantasy and Alchemy Entertainment. Like he's done a lot. He has Moonbeam Entertainment too, which produces kids movies.
Yeah, he's a Roger Corman type.
So let's reel off a few titles. Trances we spoke about. Subspecies, which is like the vampire series he did. Ghoulies, of course. Dr. Mordred, I love. That's the one where they couldn't get the rights to Doctor Strange, so they just made Dr. Mordred.
Who, funnily enough, who is a character. He's like there's a Marvel comic. There's about Dr. Mordred as well, which is super weird.
Well, I love that Dr. Mordred with Jeffrey Combs. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs, yeah.
Robot Jocks, Dragon World, Prehysteria. I'm sure you love Prehysteria. Killjoy, Eliminators.
Yeah, I've got most of them on VHS. Funnily enough.
And oddly enough, 3 of my all-time favorite B-movie directors have all worked for Charles Band. So obviously we've talked about Albert making Dollman Arcade, and Vicious Lips was a Charles Band production. Jeff Burr did Puppet Master 4 and 5. He also did Phantom Town and Johnny Misto. And of course, Stuart Gordon made Pit and the Pendulum and Castle Freak, Dolls, and Robot Jocks.
Robot Jocks, what a classic.
Not to mention, Band was also connected to Reanimator. Like he was a producer, and his dad and his brother were producers on all that.
Yeah, like he's like Roger Corman. It's but it is like that Roger Corman kind of thing where you make 1 or 2 pictures for me and they do well. You never have to work for me again. And that's very much the Charles Band Academy of Filmmaking.
Well, do you know the story about Charles Band taking Arcade away from Albert Pune? So there is another entire cut of that movie out there that exists that's never been released, and it's the Albert Pune cut because the entire computer effects were removed and replaced.
Oh, right.
And that's a movie that takes place entirely in like Cyberworld. It's like the Full Moon version of Tron.
It's Tron, yeah.
With Seth Green. And I think Norbert Weiser's in there.
Yeah, it would have to be, surely.
Anyway.
It's a rule. Not the lack of Norbert Weiser in these 3 films I talked about is the biggest disappointment.
Well, enough talking from us. Let's hear from Adam Ross, the chairman of the Australian Film Critics Association, with a killer recommendation.
Hey guys, it's Adam here from Adam's Just Seen and Triple M with another Good Movie Monday recommendation. This week we are doing Killer Toys, or Toys That Kill. And going a little bit left of centre, I'm probably going to throw in the most family-friendly movie of the bunch, or is it? Small Soldiers. Now, this movie has got the distinction of being made by Joe Dante, and that name should ring a bell for any serious movie geek, because this is the guy that gave us Gremlins, and it's batshit crazy sequel, Gremlins 2, The New Batch, which, you know, I always think that Dante is a very fascinating filmmaker because he's highly inventive and he's got this great sense of adventure and he's willing to throw weird stuff out there and just kind of see what sticks. So a Dante joint is always idiosyncratic in my mind. This Small Soldiers has, once again, it's got this distinction of looking like a Happy Meal movie. It looks like something that was made to sell toys. But because of Joe Dante's spirit in the center of it, there's a darkness to this film that's kind of strange. And I've always been fascinated by movies that have got a bit of like, you know, a behind the scenes turmoil going on and that you can see it. You go, okay, there was a movie that they shot, there's a different movie they tried to edit, and then there's the movie that we kind of get here on release. And Small Soldiers is definitely one of those movies where you can see that things had changed. Dante was making a dark movie here. The plot itself is is preposterous, I guess, but basically toy developers decided to take a bit of a shortcut and throw in a microprocessor that is not too dissimilar to Skynet and throw it into toys. And so, as you can imagine, if a toy becomes self-aware or is militarized, there are going to be major problems. And so it sounds like, you know, like kind of a light, fluffy adventure in a way, but Dante allows the soldiers here to take this deadly serious. And one of the most enduring, you know, elements of this movie is its voice cast. And basically, it's Tommy Lee Jones here as the leader. And has anyone had a more authoritative, militarized voice than Tommy Lee Jones? You know, maybe R. Lee Emery, but here as the leader of the Commando Elite, Chip Hazard, he's kind of low-key terrifying, and he's not going to give up. And so he decides that he's going to go basically after this kid Alan, who is giving refuge to one of the mortal enemies of the Commando Elite. And that allows Dante to put kids in peril in a way that is, as I like referred to before, is kind of hyper-violent and disturbing. So there's a bunch of sequences in this where you go, yeah, this was to sell Happy Meals, but now this kid is going to be like absolutely traumatized. This movie has got a personal distinction for me because I went on a family holiday to Tropical Paradise, and when I arrived there, they had in-house movies that were free. And one of those movies in 1998 was Small Soldiers. And I watched this, honest to God, like 10 times. I didn't go scuba diving, I didn't go snorkeling, I didn't go kite surfing. I just watched Small Soldiers almost every day, and it really pissed my parents off. So if you're after like, you know, an interesting movie that might have slipped out of your radar that is made by an iconic serious filmmaker like Joe Dante, go back and check out Small Soldiers. It's got an incredible like human cast too as well here. It's got the distinction of being the last film that Phil Hartman was ever into as well. So Kirsten Dunst is in here as well. David Cross is really memorable in this. But yeah, so I mean, it's just like a really inventive, strange, cool movie that probably, you know, deserves to be revisited. I think that, you know, it's sitting at a fairly rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes, but I always thought, you know, like it had this incredible amalgamation as well of puppet work, some done by Stan Winston, and, you know, and for the time, some really good CGI work. So if you're after, yeah, like a cool family movie that's kind of got the fringes of being something a bit more sinister, check out Joe Dante's Small Soldiers. Highly recommend.
Well, there you go. Not quite a killer recommendation, but you can't go wrong with Small Soldiers. Arguably, I think Joe Dante's last great movie. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably.
I really miss that guy as a director. Like, he's made other movies like The Hole and Barry and the X and even the Looney Tunes thing, but they're good, but
yeah,
none of them have got that Joe Dante thing about them.
Yeah, none of them are like, they're not what you think about. When you think of Joe Dante movies, they don't really kind of enter into the conversation.
Yeah, whereas Small Soldiers feels like, even though it was a 90s film, it feels like it could have come from the 80s, you know, but
yeah.
Anyway, you can find Adam on his Facebook page, Adam's Just Seen, and you can listen to him on Triple M. So thank you very much to Adam. And that's about it. We're running towards the end of the show. Wanted to maybe run off some notable mentions for you, Ben, and feel free to weigh in with your own, or, you know, stop to talk about any of these. But Magic from 1978 with Anthony Hopkins and Anne Margaret, which was directed by Richard Attenborough. That's a fantastic movie.
That always freaked me out. Freaked me out, that one.
How good is it? Like, that is like, I watched that probably 2 years ago, and having had seen it as a kid, not really remembering much about it. And man, it blew me away. It's a really strong psychological film, and I think it might even be one of my favorite Richard Attenborough directed movies.
Yeah, right. I remember seeing it on late night TV and just thinking it was really creepy, but I never really liked ventriloquist dummies anyway. It didn't help.
Of course, Child's Play goes without saying, and you know, back to Charles Band, the Puppet Master movies are wonderful, and the Jeff Burr ones in particular. And then there's always that movie that I reference every Christmas without fail: Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 5.
Yeah.
The Toy Maker,
Toy
Mickey
Maker.
Rooney.
Yeah, and
Oh.
perfectly cast. Perfectly cast.
I cannot get enough of that movie.
Did we talk about Dolly Dearest?
Not yet. That's great.
Is it on there? Is that on your
I
list?
really like Dolly Dearest. That's you know, that really was unfairly judged, I think.
Like it's funny. Like it seems to be the concept of there's an episode of Goosebumps and an episode of Erie, Indiana that are basically Dolly Dearest. You're like, it was so maligned. Why is everyone ripping it off?
I must admit, I really did like the reboot of Child's Play. I've spoken about that on the show before. I think that's a really clever way to redo a story in a different way. I enjoyed that aspect of it, and I did like The Boy, the movie that was made a few years ago.
And the whole Annabelle series now.
Of course, fantastic. Well, this was a particularly fun episode for me. I'm dead set about doing a full moon show, man. We've got to come back to this. Talk about lots.
There's so much I remember when last time I was at a convention in the US. Somebody had the full moon. I think it was the Puppet Master, like toy box, the toy chest thing that has like 28 Blu-rays in it or something like that. Like there's certainly enough full moon content that we could do. Seeing as we only talk about even in our prime, we only really talked about 6 films each. That's not enough to cover the full moon catalog.
No, we won't do like numbered recommendations. We'll just run through Full Moon and just talk, have a free flowing conversation. I think because I mean, it goes right back to Tourist Trap and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff. Like we're talking about hokey movies here, but there's some quality ones going back.
Yeah, they all start off pretty good, and then they realize they make the cuts where they can. Less money on this, and we'd make more money.
Shit, well, to everybody listening, thank you for listening. If you want more of this show, go to goodmoviemonday.com and you can find all of our previous episodes, numerous videos that we put up every single week, and lots more, including prizes and the prize we mentioned before. Don't forget about that. Get onto it. Don't forget to join us on social media. Drop a comment onto our Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram pages. Big special thanks to Lawrence Fowler for the chat. Jack in the Box is now out on DVD thanks to Eagle Entertainment. Track it down. Thanks to Jarrett, Guillermo, Chloe, Adam, Joe, Chad, and James. And the show wouldn't be the same without them. Same goes to you, mate. Thank you very much. Hope you had fun.
I did indeed. I always love watching movies about toys. I was disappointed I couldn't find one where a possessed sex toy kills people, but you know, maybe somebody will take that idea and run with it.
So Charles Band goes and does like Ginger Dead Man and Evil Bong, but he has not done a killer dildo.
Yeah, like Killer Condom is as close as we've come.
Quite literally.
Or maybe Sausage Fest.
Well, once again, dude, we've got the licks here, mate. We need to just put this stuff down and sell it.
Yeah, that's it. Write a treatment.
Well, we're going to leave you with Thunder Kiss 65 by White Zombie, which has been in dozens of movies, including Wild Hogs, Ben.
Tim Allen classic Wild Hogs.
Straight from the Bride of Chucky soundtrack. And we'll see you next week. Our guest is going to be Guy Pearce. That's going to be a fun one. Have a good one, everyone. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Well, we a little sister's hot tail, cheating on a halo, rising and out of the Holocaust, the house, kick you out the Mario, and breaks down agony after the ecstasy ain't over there.
Wanna try me?